screen and then session.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So the first thing is like in last sessions we had covered about inline style, internal style sheet, and external style sheet. So here inline style means that like whenever we are writing any kind of an element, like here I want to define the style of my list. My list should be in the style as font family to be Times New Roman, and I want my font size to be 20 pixel or 22 pixel. Okay, and the color of the font should be blue or Bollywood. I'll make it. So when I go ahead and refresh here, you can see that only one of my list color is getting changed or the style is getting changed for only one menu. But I wanted it to be reflecting it for all the other menus. So in such case, what we will do is we have to copy this code and place it in all the other places also. I'll take this and paste it here, also here, and also here. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll go to, I mean, when I refresh, you can see everything is reflecting in the same way. Now I decide that, okay, Burleywood is not being so great for me. And also the font weight is not good. So in that case, like if I have to make a modification in one a list style, it has to be reflected in all the other styles, but it will not happen with respect to the inline style. So when I change one thing, and if I want a consistency, I have to keep on changing in all the other places also. So that is the drawback when we go with the inline style. So that is the reason we go with an internal style. When we go with an internal style, what we will do is we'll be writing a style tag inside a head tag. Inside a head tag, we should always write it inside a head tag. It is always recommended to write inside head tag. So inside the style tag, I mean, you have a style tag, and here you can see that like we already have written a list. So in this list, I'm just going to mention my font size is going to be 24px and color is going to be like aqua. And I will mention font family to be Times New Roman, or I'll just mention as Cambria. So here, whenever I'm mentioning a font, I mean, you can see that initially Cambria font is the one which is going to apply for me, but when exactly you can see that there are plenty of other fonts also has been mentioned here. So why do we mention the other fonts is because we have to when Cambria font is not supporting in some of the browsers, or when it is not present in the browser, it is not supported by some browsers. So the next font will be chosen as per the priority. The first one fails to load, the next one will go ahead. If the next one also fails to go, it will go with the third one. So that's the order it goes, and that's the reason why we are mentioning a multiple font styles here. And when I go ahead and refresh here, you can still see that the reflection will not happen, because always the priority for your styles will be for the inline styles first, and then for the internal styles, and third one will be the external style sheet. So here what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and remove this for one element. And now you can see that it is going to reflect in this place as well. And now, because for all other list items, we have inline styles mentioned, we cannot see those affecting our menu bar. So when I
So,
have removed this,
Vidya,
yeah,
Vidya, I have a question. In the code, where are we referring the style? We said that list type style equal to none, right?
list style type is none. This list
Okay,
style type none means that it is not going to show the bulletin for us. Otherwise,
okay.
it is going to have a bullets like this.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that. But in the under head, we were, yeah, I got it. under the head we declare the style types, right? In the code
Yeah.
we need to refer it, or we do not refer it.
No, we do not refer it because this particular style is called as an element style. So here I'm mentioning an elements itself. You can,
LMS types. Okay.
yeah.
So how many our list items we have, the same style will be applied.
Yes, for all the list you have, you will be getting the same style. There
And
will
if
be
you
no
wanted
change.
different styles for different list,
We'll come
then
to that.
only the external.
No, 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 no. That is different. I'll explain you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So here you can see that the list style type, I have made it as none. And here I'm going to bring in home about contact and services. Now, what I wanted is the next one is I wanted to like on focus, I want to bring in some style. So when I want to bring in some style on the focus, meaning on when I keep the mouse here, that's called as
Mhm,
a hover function. So when I
mhm,
want to bring in some style on the hover, what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and mention as li hover. And here I'll bring in a there is something called as a text decoration. So in the text decoration, I'll give a underline as the style. And again, I want the color to be modified to white whenever it is for highlighting purpose. And also I want the word spacing to be there, meaning I wanted it to be zoomed a little bit. So for that, I'll just give a 3 pixel of word spacing. And font size also, I wanted, as I said you, I wanted it to be zoomed. So I will make my font size to be 26 pixel. So this particular style, whichever we have written here, will be applied on only on focus. So these, which if in case we have mentioned a font size already. So here also the font size is there. So that means the font size alone will be overridden from this particular hover. But other things like color also will be overridden. But font family, I have not written anything on the hover. So which means that it is going to go ahead with the font family, which was by default mentioned for the list type. And again, for the float and width also, it is going to be the same because we have not overridden anything in this area. So now when we refresh our page and when we highlight on a specific area, you can see that the font is getting bigger, and also you can see that it is slightly becoming wider because of the word spacing. In case if that wideness is not enough for you, you can go ahead and increase the word spacing. And also there are plenty of other ways we can increase the wideness. So this is how you highlight between every menu items. So is this clear for you?
Yeah, how do we get the underline when you hover on the menu item? We get an underline. Did we do
Yeah.
anything for that?
Yes, we did text decoration underline.
Oh, sorry. I didn't notice that. Sorry.
Okay. Um, so the next one is okay. Okay, now coming to this, I feel that I should be having some kind of a menus on my left hand side. Or let me put one sub menu, and it is going to have a, left hand side navigation bar. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll create another header, and under this header, I'll be creating a navigation bar, and I'll create an UL. And this is going to talk about all the technologies that we are covering. Probably it will say as the list of technologies will be HTML, then it's going to be CSS, then it's going to be JavaScript, then it will be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React or ESX, anything you can add. So now you can see that my HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React JS is actually applying some kind of a style, but whereas I have not given any styles. So here what I wanted to happen is I want my second navigation bar to be having a different style and a first navigation bar to be having a few other styles. So let us choose some color palette first. So we should be this particular site gives us a good color palette schemes. So when we go here, you can see that some of the colors have been taken. So on the first one, for the first navigation bar, let's go with this palette or a few other control palettes. Okay, let's go with this. Too many dark colors. I want a combination of dark and light. Okay, we'll go with this. So I'll make my first header to be of this color and the second header to be of this color. Okay. So in this place, what I'll do is I have defined as nav. So this is called as an element selector. So whenever you give an element selector, what will happen is your complete HTML in this page throughout how many nav are nav ever you are mentioning, all those are going to define a prefixed style which is mentioned with the help of nav tag. So here what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I don't want my all navs to follow the same design. So to probably the height can be the similar one for the all the navigation bar. But for my first navigation bar and the second navigation bar, I should be having a different styles. So that is the place when we have a class called um, class. We in this class what we will do is we'll be defining one internal one name. I mean we'll be giving a user defined name. It can be of anything, and the first name, the class name will be main header, and then here I'm going to give background color for my main header. But whenever you are defining your class in the CSS, you have to give it as dot before that. Why do we give dot is because that's how the syntax for mentioning a header is. So now let's go ahead and see if my both the navigation bar is having the same color. I haven't saved my file. So now you can see my first header is also only going to have the background color, but whereas the second one is not having any background color. So to have a background color for my second header also, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and define a new style for my second subheader. So here I'll give it as subheader, and the background color is going to be hash EDC7B7. Hash EDC7B7. Now, if I go ahead and refresh, it will not apply because you can see that I have not defined my class here. I mean, I have not assigned any class to my subheader. So here I'll just go ahead and mention as subheader, but without the dot. And you could see that my first navigation bar and the second navigation bar are having a different styles, but still my list items are sticking on to the same style. So to eliminate that, again I'll have to define my styles separately for my first navigation bar header and the second navigation bar header. So here what I'll do is when I want my list items which is under my first navigation bar should be selected. In that case what I'll do is I'll go ahead and give main header.
Oh, okay.
Main header li.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So happen. You can see that only your first navigation bar is applying the style, whereas the second navigation bar, it is not applying any style. Okay. And it got reverted. And for my main header also, I want to apply the same. I mean, for the UL also, I wanted to apply the same. So you can see that the complete alignment itself has got changed because of the float property, and also it has brought in the bullet because of the list style type in property. But you can still see that the list hover is sticking on to my first menu bar design. So to avoid that, here also I should be mentioning as dot main header space li hover. So here it means that this is called as a combinator selector. What is a combinator selector is more than one type of a selector. We are going to merge and create a new definition for our element style. So that is why we mention a combinator selector. So when you give a space, it means that any parent element and under that this element is present, it is going to apply that style. In case you can see my subheader is having a class name as subheader, that is the reason it is not applying the li style for this. But if I want the specific styles to be applied for my subheader, so I'll just give a subheader, and I'll first define my ul style, and ul style is going to be list style type is none, but float is going to be left for me here. Okay. Now you can see that it is actually applying a left hand side style, but it is just coming, I mean, it is not coming next to each other. When it has to come next to each other, we already saw in our previous session that we have to make it as subheader, and it is always good practice to first define your main class and then define your subclasses of that. So here I'll just go ahead and mention subheader. And for li, I should be having float has left for every property. And I should also be having a width mention. The width of every element will be 100 pixel. And here you can see that it is going to occupy 100 pixel space, and it is going to give some space and also align float to the left hand side. And if you want to add more technologies also, you can go ahead and keep on adding, and it is still not going to make any much of a change. You can see that it is going to come here. And if you want to change your font sizes and things like that, you can make it. So here also you can give font size to be 15px, and font weight to be 400, and you can also mention the color of the font to be, again, we can choose it from the palette. It can be #1 to #AC3B61, AB, sorry, AC3B61. And when I refresh here, you can see that the font colors have got changed. And if this font color is still not okay for us, what we have to do is we can just choose some other thing color from this palette, or we can stick on to the white color itself. That is #FFF. And you can see it is sticking on to white, but it is not okay. So if you give 000, that will be black, and it is just coming as a black is okay for us. But the font weight has to be still increased, so I'll just make it as bold. And what other things can we make? That's all. And font family can be assigned, because that's going to give you a lot of uh, good look. And for everywhere, you have to mention as a only one font only throughout the website. That is the consistency that we have to maintain in our application. And there is one more element that we can apply. So font family is something that I'm saying you wanted it to be applying for all the areas, but not for but not I mean, it should not change. So, which means that in the font family, you have to mention it only once. You should not be mentioning it in all the places. So, for that, we have a tag called body. So, if you mention anything on the body, it is going to apply for everything under a body element. So, you can see that it is applying a font Cambria to everything, even though I have not mentioned it. So if you don't want Cambria and if you want the Georgia to be present, You can see that the font style has gotten changed, but it is not changed. I mean, it is changed in only one place, but it is been reflecting in other places. Okay, 1 minute. Sorry. So here you
No.
can see that I'll just revert my font family, and it has come back to the normal one. And now there is also one way that you can mention an style for all the elements. So that is called as in star, and it's a universal selector. So the difference between star and universal selector is, I'll just define a background color here, and this will also apply for all the elements. But in what ways it will apply is, it will be uh, it will be considering each and every element inside that area. You can now see that my background color is also becoming, that is, my whole body is also becoming blue in color. And you can see that there is an list item. The list item is also getting transferred to blue color. And you could see at the top, there is an item that is like the navigation bar is also getting transferred into the blue color. But why this particular navigation bar is not getting transferred to blue color is because I have dedicatedly mentioned the background color for my list item. That you can see that for navigation bar, that is for my subheader, that's a navigation bar design. I have dedicatedly mentioned a background color. If I did not mention a background color, it would have also applied a blue color. But here, since initially when we did not mention our style for body, it was not like, let me change the same thing to my body. You can see here, there is a change. Like now your list item is not applying a style of blue color, because it is applying for all the child elements inside the body, meaning a direct child element. It does not worry about the inner child elements. But when you mention star, it means each and every element inside that. So ul is considered to be one element, and li is considered to be one element. So it minutely takes each and every element from when you mention a star, and that particular style is applied on the page. And that's the reason why you are seeing an li to be an li to be a blue color, but ul is not in blue color, because the style is overridden because of the element design that we have mentioned. So is this clear to you?
Yeah.
I'll remove this, and this star is considered to be an universal selector.
Hmm.
Okay, now we shall see the design. So now you could see, can you see there is some gap on the left hand side, on the top, also
Yes.
on the right hand side?
Yes. Yes.
So how do you think that gap is?
It's
You have to trace
default
how that gap
margin.
is coming. So for that,
Yeah,
what we will do
margin
is,
is
I'll
there.
just right click and do an inspect element. So when I
Hmm.
do an inspect element, you can see two different things. One is on the left hand side, that is nav class. I mean, which is just mentioning all the HTML code that we have written. And on the right
Hmm.
hand side, you can see that there are few styles that has been mentioned here. So
Hmm.
here
Hmm.
what I'll do is, like when I want to know why the gap is coming, so we have something called as a computed. So when you go to the computer tab also, you will get the same. So when you are focusing on the navigation bar, you can see that the navigation bar is present in this area, and it is of a main header space, and it is occupying the complete blue color area only. It is not going beyond that. And
Hmm.
when if I go into the header is also of the same width and height of my navigation bar. And if I go
Hmm.
to my body, you can see that there is a complete width, but you can see there is an orange color area which is pointing, right? So that
Hmm.
so I want to analyze what is that orange color area. Let me click on this. So when I click on this, you can see, and also we can analyze that that orange color area is the place where we are getting a gaps. So those gaps
mm,
have been highlighted as orange color for us. So in this case, you can just go to the right hand side box model and you can see that there is I mean, there are few things that is mentioned. Let's talk about all that, but you can see there is a margin that has been mentioned. So what your
mm,
margin does is it increases the gap between your the first element and the next element. Say for an example, here I'm having this element and this element. I want to reduce the gap between these two elements. In that case, we can just increase the margin. So if we have to do that, we'll come to that. But here you can say, imagine as I have a body, and for my body and inside content, I want to, there is a gap, but I don't want that gap to be there. So that particular gap is done with the help of margin. So if I eliminate the margin, my web page will look completely attached to the body instead of looking out of a body. Okay.
mm.
To do that, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and make a margin 0px. When I make a margin 0px, and if I come here and refresh, you can see that your borders are fitting extremely to the top, left, right. Okay. And even
Mm.
if there is a removed margin on the bottom, you cannot visually see it because it's of a full gap. Okay.
I have a question here. So even it doesn't matter if how big is the screen is. So when you say zero, it will cover the entire screen, the monitor screen.
No, before that, let us discuss about a box model. Okay. So to discuss
Okay.
about the box model, but to discuss about a box model, what we will do is I'll place some borders for each and every subheader elements.
Mm,
I'll
mm,
say border and I will say 1px solid salmon. And if I go ahead and refresh, you can see that there is a border that is applied for every element. Okay. Now you can see that I have some space on the right hand side, but I don't have any space on the top, left, or bottom.
mm,
Right. So
mm,
when I want to increase the space on the top, left, bottom, so what I will do is there is something called as a padding. So in this padding, I'll increase the padding size to 10px. And when I refresh, you can see that your padding has got, I mean, your padding is actually bringing in some kind of a space inside the borders.
mm,
Okay. But whereas when you can see that, okay, my gap between inside the border is being increased. And if I
mm,
focus here, I mean, you can do a right click and inspect element and check here. So what your padding is going to do is whatever the content width is, to outside of that, it is going to increase the mentioned padding size. It is going to be in all the areas or all the sites that is top, right, bottom, left. Okay. So
mm,
now
mm,
that is within the border. I have already said you, and here you can see that the border I gave as 1 pixel solid and 1 pixel solid is coming up here. But
mm,
now I want to increase the gap between this element and this element. I don't want my borders to be too touching. I wanted it to
mm,
be actually increasing the gap between these two areas. So for
mm,
that, what I will do is, that is where our margin comes into picture. So when I increase my margin 10 pixel, I'll give. So when I increase the margin, you can see that it is actually increasing. You can see the HTML has gone down, and you
mm,
could also see all the elements have gone down, and also it has increased the space on the right hand side. And
mm,
for this, every element, it is actually increased on margin on all the sides. You can see from this computer, it has increased margin on all the sides. But I don't
mm,
want my margin top or margin bottom to be increased. I want only my margin right to be increased. So in that case,
mm.
I'll just go ahead and make it as margin right 10 pixel. sorry, Senthil. So you
No,
can
no,
see
no problem.
there is a margin that is increased on the right hand side. Okay.
Mm,
And you could see that the HTML which was lowered down is also brought up because it has removed the margin. And on your computer also, you can see that the margin on the right hand side has only increased and all other areas it is dash, not applied
mm,
anything.
mm,
Okay,
mm,
this is about the box model. So coming
mm.
to your point on 0 pixel, will it apply for the complete stretch of a screen? No, because we have applied a margin for a body, it will apply for the complete stretch, meaning the body's width is going to be always the screen width. So the
Oh,
screen means if we remove the margin on the outer container of the body, it is going to make it look like it is extremely fitting to the screen. You got my point?
no, it's not.
See, when I am saying body, my
Mm-hmm.
body margin is not 0 pixel. By default, it is 8 pixel. Okay. When
Okay,
I
okay.
say my body element width, it's a div. It's like a block level element. It is occupying a
Mm,
complete width on your screen. Okay.
mm, mm,
But when I had to remove the when I remove a margin for this particular area, so what body element, there is a margin prefix occupied. So if I remove that margin, it is going to look like extremely fitting to the screen because that 8
oh,
pixel is what is giving you a space. But for
mm,
other
mm,
elements, it is not that way. If you make it margin 0 pixel, it is going to be like sticking to each other. Okay, it is
understood.
basically when you want to bring in a gap, you apply it. It has nothing to do with
Mm,
the width.
mm, mm, mm.
Okay,
Yeah,
so is this clear?
yeah, it's clear.
Okay.